Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for May 13th and 14th, 2020. How are you doing? Well, we are in retrograde week. We've had Saturn turn retrograde on Monday. Now, today, Venus turning retrograde, and then tomorrow, Jupiter turning retrograde. So it's a really interesting energy, and it feels like especially with Mars just completing its time in Aquarius. Today, Mars moves over into Pisces. Today, the moon is in Aquarius, but tomorrow it will move into Pisces. That'll be an interesting energy over the weekend, where the moon will be, let's see, the moon and Mars having moved over Pisces, moon in Pisces, and kind of a dreamy, out of time feeling, and with this retrograde energy. And it's really interesting because the retrograde is kind of like, Venus retrograde is always like a little bit uncomfortable because it's like going and facing where what's not working in your life. Venus is about what makes us feel good, what makes us happy, what we want, relationships, our day-to-day comfort. And so it's a very interesting, but probably perfect, right, time to have this Venus retrograde on the heels of this, well, hopefully the heels of this world crisis. It's a very interesting energy because it's like, come on, we need to get going. Like, let's get back to normal. Let's get it back into our life. Like, and then now all this retrograde, right? And it feels like we've been in this pause already. And it's like, wait a minute, now we're starting the retrograde. We've been feeling this Venus retrograde energy for so long because of the Venus in square to Neptune. So of course, Venus turning means it's coming back into that exact square with Neptune. And that's why this weekend with the moon in Pisces and Mars shifting over to Pisces, it's going to be like, whoa. But we want to take advantage of the higher octave of the Pisces energy, which is the spiritual revelation. Now, this is trying to come through for us right now. And that's where we need to keep our perspective on that bigger picture of what's really happening. Because if you're in this, and this is kind of, I keep talking about this in different ways, right? But it's like these souls are being called to be who you came here to be, which you don't even know who that is, but it's way bigger than you can imagine, and to be on the cutting edge, leading the way forward in these times of spiritual awakening. And it feels like we're not getting anywhere, right? Like if you look at it from the daily life, we're not getting anywhere. Like we're actually heading towards a police state, and people are going into sleep more and into fear and all this, right? Everywhere you look in this world right now, you're going to get evidence that we're going backwards to the dark ages, but that's not actually true. Okay. All of this is happening because we've made huge leaps forward in our energetic reality, in the vibrational reality. And it's like, feels like I can feel these souls wavering between like excitement for the future and holding space in that energy of what's possible, and then back into like hopelessness, despair, you lost, your failure, why even try, right? It's like manic depression. And what the reason for that is because the physical manifested world is going through a cleansing crisis. And because the energies have already shifted hugely, right? So the message, when you really look at this retrograde season, even though it feels like in the day-to-day reality, it's like, what? Like, can we just go live our lives, right? But we have to adjust to this big energetic shift, and that's what this retrograde is really about. And so the message is like in that bigger picture, this retrograde is how we assimilate and adjust to what's happened. And that means that's how we let go of what's still clinging to us from the past, like identities and ideas, concepts, pain, cords, karmic contracts, right? It's all got to go. And so the message is like, use this time wisely so you can fly, right? And it feels like maybe this Mars moving into Pisces and the moon in Pisces over this coming up here for Friday, Saturday, through the weekend, it's kind of like, okay, you're going to be shown. On the one hand, there's this opportunity for spiritual revelation, going up, out beyond the lower matrix and have a spiritual experience. One little moment of spiritual revelation, from what I've been shown, this is coming up a lot. So I know it's really on the table right now. It's almost like these stars are trying to shower down on us with spiritual revelation. And it's like bumping off the lower matrix and our constructs and our concern about what's going on, in the lower manifest reality. And so we're not getting the shower of stars. And so, but what I've been shown is that this spiritual revelation energy is on the table, right? Because that's what was distorted in the Piscean age. The whole Christ mythology that the Piscean age was based on, and how structural energies and control energies used the Christ consciousness energy, or the stories of it, the spiritual revelation, to control people, right? And so it's like, in order for us to complete the Piscean age, we need to let go of those dark stories that happened to us and to humanity, but we also have to reclaim our spiritual revelation. And what I've been shown is that these souls who were a part of that time period at the turning of ages, the last turning of ages, there was this huge energy of spiritual revelation. And those souls carry this in their heart and soul. Like, it's like a memory that you can draw on, that that you have been chosen, not chosen, you chose yourself, but it's like, you're not here for this lower play. You're here for the next chapter. And why not just go? Right. And of course it's like, yeah, but it's retrograde week, and it's retrograde year, and it's retrograde month. And so let's just talk this through, because Venus is turning retrograde today, and it's like, going into uncomfortable places of looking at, and it kind of, like I said, it's perfect timing, because our life has been dismantled, right, in the way we thought we were living. And when you're going through your schedule and you're just living your life, it's easy to ignore what's not working for you. And now we have to face what's not working for us. Like, that job is just, I've been just going along with it, but I know doesn't really fit who I am, right? Or the relationship, or any situation. And now it's like, there's just space to look at these things, and it's not fun, but it's crucial, is what I'm being shown, is that if you can take this time in this Venus retrograde to clear out those closets, to get new perspective, to figure out what you want, which probably won't be clear till after the retrograde, probably July. But to really sort through what's not working is kind of the energy. But then it's like all of these, I'm just seeing people step out of this whole, like it's like we've been wearing this suit of like ill-fitting clothes that do not fit us, and living a life that doesn't fit who we really are in our star power, And it's like this Venus retrograde for these souls is about stepping out of that old suit. And that has to do with conceptual ideas about who you are, who you've been told for lifetimes. This has to do with those lower karmic relationships, and where you bought into that you don't have a spiritual purpose, and that you're not, you just are kind of this, I don't know, it's like, we've talked through this about where we've all bought into the stories of, like, we've been looking for validation in our spiritual path and outside of ourselves, right? And we have lower karmic relationships that are designed specifically to keep us disconnected from our true path and purpose, from our intuition, from our sense of self. And then we have been like going to these people to try to get validation, to get beyond these issues. And it's like never going to happen, right? And that's where it's like, then you have to make this choice to be completely alone, when you cut off of these toxic relationships that are not willing to, they just aren't, it's not that they're not willing. I mean, the contracts say they're here to hold you down, right? Like, it's almost like you said, please, will you keep me from my power? Just don't ever let that happen again, And it's like, but you didn't come here for that, right? Maybe for a while to survive and make it through, but you made it through. That's the deal. I know it looks all dark out there in the world right now, but you made it through. You're here. and you're coming into who you are and you're remembering, and it's beautiful, and it hurts too, because it's like you got to break that old skin and shed that ill-fitting concepts and clothing, right? But we've also got to be like, how ridiculous it is for us to think that we can go get validation in our spiritual path and purpose from these lower karmic relationships, right? And that's what's been holding a lot of these souls back. So that's what's going on for the Venus retrograde. And it's like, until you let go of those toxic relationships, they can shift and change into another thing. You don't have to let go of the people, right? But you have to let go of the toxic, the feeders, right? And it feels really alone, like you're going to be alone forever. And that's part of the programming, right? That means you're getting really close to your spiritual freedom. And it's like we talked about how we want to get at the top of the mountain, then we can find our people, right? We've been going back and up and down the mountain trying to bring these lower karmic relationships with us, and they don't want to go, and it's exhausting. These souls are exhausted, from lifetimes of this spiritual mission, nobody around you validating it, and you still get up and do it again the next day, and you still come back for another lifetime, and you still show up for the earth. And now it's time to be like, self-validate and be alone and be like in your temple. And that's where you can resonate with your people. Okay. And so it's like this Venus retrograde is really cutting cords. It's like, right. And the Gemini energy, it's got this like a new conceptual, trying to shift our conceptual reality, mutable air, right? Like new beliefs, different old beliefs, old. So it's almost like everything you've based your whole life and relationship and value system on is incorrect, right? It's lies. It's like fake news, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, then who am I? Who am I? I have nothing, because everything I based my whole identity and reality on is a lie, right? It's like waking up in that narcissistic relationship. And this is our whole world right now. And I know you're flailing, but you're actually leading the way. And so it's like, we just have to commit to the path and to the temple and to the vibration and move through the confusion and take this time to break those ties completely, to self-validate, to be alone and prepare, for what's coming, and know that when you completely cut off the feeders, and you're going to feel completely alone. That's part of it. It's part of the journey, but it's just a place you're visiting, right? But it's definitely spiritual programming for these souls, that if you cut off these feeder relationships and you cut off the lower matrix, you're going to be completely alone. You're just floating out there in space all alone. And it's total and complete lie, but it's a necessary place to get through to show the universe that you're willing to tend and honor the light within you, right? Because how can you embody your light? And so many of these souls I work with, it's like, I just want to do what I'm here to do. I just want to be who I am. I just want to live my truth, be on my path, right? And it's like, yeah, but your higher self is like, I can't come in there because you're just going to leak me out to those lecherous people, right? And it's like, so this is what this Venus retrograde is. And it's like, and it's hard because it's like, but I've done so much work in this area, right? And I'm like, can't handle being alone anymore. And it's like, yeah, but you're so close. You're so close to the finish line. And it's almost like it's like you've broken the contracts, you've, worked that, but there's still like a little tentacle attachment. There's still little portals in to your vibration, still some codependent psychic healing going on where you're allowing yourself to feed the forces that you don't really want to be feeding, but you didn't know. And maybe this Venus retrograde is like the reality of that. So here we are in retrograde week, and the message is like, okay, it looks like we're not getting anywhere and we're going backwards to the dark ages, but that's not the truth. That's not the spiritual truth. We've already made we made a huge leap with that Pluto-Jupiter conjunction. The control energies clamped down through distance, control, masking, right? Like, oh no, you guys, don't you dare come together and celebrate your spiritual awakening, right? And it's like, but the spiritual awakening isn't going anywhere. Like the shift we already had a huge shift, and we are the ones who need to embody that, embrace it and move into it and live that greater truth, not what's being shown to us here, you know? And it's a challenge, but it's also this incredible feeling of knowing who you are and what you're here to do in broader terms, at least, right? So hang in there and just as you go through this, facing these hard truths and reevaluating your life, know that it's like massive preparation for what lies ahead, and just use it to your advantage. And as much as you can, put your energy in that place of what we've already created on a spiritual level, and live that truth, and know that this illusion of spiritual isolation is just that. It's an illusion, but it's also a place on the journey that we're visiting right now, but it's not true. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for the next update, and we'll talk to you then. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.